Good morning. Thank you for joining me. I want to give a lecture today on what I'm calling Bitcoin best practices. So I guess it's just going to be a follow-up to other videos I've published, which are also called Bitcoin best practices. I've made a flow chart that I want to now publish. I think this will be useful for anybody who already knows about Bitcoin. You might actually have some, you might have a node, you might be, at any point in your journey, if you just need to take a step back and really kind of zoom out, right? We can get a grand overview to the end game. So that's what I've attempted today. So that preamble, start at the top here. I'm going to say ditch Windows, use Linux, keep your seed offline, buy only, never sell, run your own node, mine Bitcoin, learn new skills, have fun, save money, prepare for future. So that is the spirit of this program. Let's take a look at this flow chart. So what I'm saying, when you're kind of at ground zero, well, this first section, we'll call it ground zero, right? These begin as three parallel processes, meaning they don't really intersect. There's a self-custody flow. I probably should have just called that buying Bitcoin. There's the sovereign node flow, and there's the wallet flow. And actually, all three of these combine into the self-custody flow. So what do I mean is three parallel processes? Well, just like any new thing that you try, phase one is always going to be purchasing, isn't it? So we'll just zoom in on phase one here a bit and take a look. So purchase Bitcoin from the exchange. As you can see, that flow just diverts because that's all you really need to do to start playing. You just purchase Bitcoin from the exchange. So that might be where you're done. That's kind of the point of this lecture, is if you're the kind of person who wants, I have some friends, they want Bitcoin. Okay, so I bought $1,000. Congratulations, for $1,000 you can buy more than your global share, your global fair share. So you're off to a great start. But then they're like, what do I do? And it's like, wow, you don't know? Okay. Well, it looks like this. This is what you do. So you're like, oh, yeah, okay, that's complicated. It's not. But if we're in 2025, we need to be learning new skills. Anybody who's in 2025 and doesn't agree that new skills are important is just lost, right? And there's no reason you can't get a GPT assist here. Oh yeah, there is a reason. Yeah, that's right. It's surveillance software. So, hell, what do I say about this? I definitely got some GPT assist. So yeah, OpenAI has, in their servers, they might have more information than I want them to have, but yeah, I'm rambling here. Okay. Also under phase one purchases now, so we have the acquiring Bitcoin flow, which just you buying Bitcoin from ShakePay or whatever, if you're Canadian, and that's done. So you just keep buying. Sovereign node. Well, that's the thing. This is actually all about Bitcoin self-custody. And if you're going to self-custody your Bitcoin, then a node should be part of your flow. And if it's not, then it's not true self-custody. And the reason, let me put it like this, there's no privileged position in the Bitcoin network. All peers are on equal footing. They're simply peers. So there's no, obviously I'm trying not to say there's no centralized entity, because that's like the whole premise, but like I don't think people know what it means. So we can't move on until you understand this. Like, you need to know what it means. Like, there's no preferred peer on the network. If you join the network as a peer, then you're good. You're a peer on the network. Like, you can just use your own node and connect your wallets to it and stuff. There's no need to ever connect to public nodes and public servers. Yeah, and then so that'll be the sovereign node flow. And in phase one purchases here, I've just identified a few basic computer stuff that you will want to purchase in order to set up a sovereign Bitcoin node. And those are a router, a PC with, you want something modern but refurbished, because it's going to have new hardware, let's say, and you'll get good bang for your buck for around $200 to $300 Canadian at like Wintronic or whatever. They're these Lenovo 1 liter PCs. They really kick ass. I missed a SSD, an external SSD. I totally overlooked that from this list. So, and then obviously, if you want your node to be mining, which it really should be, you should be mining, then you need a couple bit axes. They're about $200 a pop. So, like, everything on this list is like a less than $1,000. So we have $1,000 here, $1,000 here, and then you have about $500 or less over here. So if you're brand new to Bitcoin, let's say, or you're ready to get serious about it, and you have $2,500, then you buy $1,000 of Bitcoin. You spend $1,000 on building a node and learning new skills and having fun, and prepare for future. And then you spend another little bit on your wallet and your seed signing device. Like, so, I have a buddy who let's say he bought $1,000 of Bitcoin, and he goes, "What do I do now?" And I try to, I want to give him an answer, and it's like, the answer is you need to go home and set up a node, but he's not going to do that, maybe. And so I'm like, okay, well, I don't know, buy a wallet, buy this cold card. And then he's kind of like, well, this is fucking $200. What the fuck do I need this for? And it's like, well, okay, bro, you don't need it. You don't need it. You need it. Need is a weird way to look at this, because maybe everybody needs it and needs to know this stuff, or maybe they don't. It's you have to decide for yourself, right? The information's all out there. So that's, I made this so that way I can just point people here and say, oh, you want to start being a Bitcoiner? Like, here's your flow chart. So So in terms of like purchases for the wallet, Cold Card MK4 is probably the we're gonna say that's the gold standard there. I don't recommend buying anything newer than that. It's there's too many features that are just pointless. The Cold Card MK4 is just perfect in every way. uh, that you can select some accessories with that cold power and whatever SD chip. So that can all cost a bit. And then I bought casino dice. The blocknet washer jig is about $5 stamping kit. So that because you need to be punching your seed phrase into steel. So that's the purchasing phase. As for software, it's you're not paying for software and there's no subscription. It's all free open source software. So you just need to purchase the infrastructure to run it on, be the owner of that. That's why I say buy a router, and we're going to get into that now. So as you can see, our three process flow, the purchasing Bitcoin flow is just diverted off. So now we have the wallet flow and the node flow. So phase 2, node and wallet setup. This it's it's a couple hours of work or a couple days or a couple weeks or a couple years. Um, I the way technology, the way this software gets developed, it's if you sleep on it, then by the time you go to do it, like the way to do it has changed. But anyway, like I would say you need to set up a LAN with your own personal router and assign a static IP to a different subnet. Because this is about learning new skills and having fun and preparing for the future. And this basic LAN is just a basic way to start, like at minimum, facing the future in 2025. And if you're going to run a Bitcoin node, it's going to be configured to run over Tor anyway, if you're smart. So your LAN is just about securing your devices a little bit because you're going to be you need to be accessing one device from another with the secure shell and or even a web secure shell. And yeah, so set up the LAN, connect your personal router, assign a static IP to a different subnet, get GPT to help you if you want, set up your cables. Get an old laptop. I didn't write that in purchases, but maybe you have to purchase one, maybe you don't. Again, ditch Windows. Just don't do any of this on Windows. Just zero. Do 0% of this on Windows. So wipe an old laptop, wipe it out, put Mint on it, connect that laptop to the LAN, assign it a static IP from your router, and then also run Tor on the laptop. It's like a background Tor process. And yeah, also get GPT to help you if you need to, but actually configure the Linux settings to request the same static IP from the router, because that way it won't be a DHCP lease at all. It'll be a true static IP. And that's just going to stabilize your LAN so that all your devices have a designated IP address. There'll be no confusion ever about who's who in the zoo. So once you have that client laptop with Mint, you've got the LAN set up, you're really set up for success now. Obviously I did this in reverse order. But now I want to lecture the correct way. Set up Start9 server. StartOS is free open source software. So pretty straightforward. There's tons of videos on that, right? StartOS, it really kicks ass. So you just flash it to a USB and you boot your brand new PC. You plug in your 4 terabyte Samsung T7, which never made the purchase list, and you just boot up that StartOS and work your way through the documentation. StartOS has documentation. You need to follow it carefully. Try to always, every time you get a new service, you have to configure it before it starts properly. So look for Tor settings. Make sure you're enabling Tor settings. And what I'm calling the core software suite here is Bitcoin, Electrum, Rust, and Mempool. So I would recommend you select Bitcoin knots from the community registry. It's Bitcoin Core plus more. It's lets you set up your node policy to filter out ordinals, inscriptions, and some of that other controversial stuff. Since I'm running knots, I'm on the knot squad. I believe in the knots philosophy here, so that's why, yeah. Get knots, get electors, get mempool. I would recommend just starting there and letting all of those, like, you should not get one until the previous one is synchronized. So the node setup takes a while because Bitcoin knots, you download Bitcoin, you download the entire blockchain and save it to that SSD. It all happens automatically. It's just clicky, so don't worry. But I suggest letting each service stabilize before you fire up the next one. Electors takes a really long time as well. It can take a day to sync because it creates an index, its own index of the whole blockchain. And that's actually, the Electrum Rust server is actually going to be the server that your wallet will be connecting to. As an onion service, actually, as an onion hidden service, not over your LAN. And then mempool, just a block explorer. So same thing, just grab mempool after electors is synced. Now we will take a look at the wallet flow over here. So let's see, maybe I can set up cold card, create new wallet. My preferred method is 24 words from 100 dice rolls. Write down seed, pencil on paper. Yeah, use pencil. There's, the pen will leak and whatever. And anyway, just snap seed into steel washers, assemble onto bolt, wrench it shut. That's how you back up your 24-word seed phrase. Stamp it into steel, clamp it shut. It becomes quite safe from fire, from flood, from children. Yeah, you just really need to defend against theft at that point. Now you want to either just keep your cold card with the wallet on it, that's acceptable, or you should probably also create an encrypted backup of the seed. The cold card will do that for you, and when it does that, it gives you a new 12-word phrase. So here's a potential source of confusion. If you create an encrypted backup within the cold card and you get a 12-word phrase, that's not an encoding of your seed. So that 12-word phrase is safe to be stored on either online directly, or at least, like, it doesn't need the same level of care that the actual Bitcoin private key needs, which needs to be basically stamped into steel, and then you should probably burn the paper that you wrote it down on and back it up, and that's how you treat the actual seed. But the 12-word decryption phrase, I would suggest saving that into tails. So if you don't know about tails, that's a whole other thing to learn about. Tails is an amnesic operating system that boots from RAM. So you have it ready to go on a USB on your keychain, let's say a little USB drive that you carry with you, and you can boot Tails on any computer that you have access to, and it just boots from the RAM. It doesn't write to disk, and you have an encrypted volume on there that it can't be cracked open, not even by the feds. So you can keep your very secure stuff on Tails. The only thing that's really recommended is don't put your Bitcoin private key on your Tails USB. And the reason for that is because the cold card is where that belongs, because the cold card is able to sign transactions. It's about the only thing that's going to be more secure than Tails, because Tails is built to connect to the internet over Tor. So the Tails USB is for everything but the private key, including, let's say, a 12-word decryption phrase. So that should be a grand overview for you of the node wallet setup. And let's move to phase 3. Phase 3, bringing the wallet and node together using your private Electrum server to watch your own wallet. So I'll just reiterate what I was saying about this earlier. There's nothing special about a bigger company and using their node. It's not more accurate or faster or better or smarter or anything. Your own will be just as good, better, because it's yours. So anyway, following the node setup flow, after Bitcoin, Electra's mempool are synced and configured, double check you've configured everything to work over Tor. Start9 server will supply onion addresses for your hidden services, particularly electors, and there will be instructions for where to get that onion address. So from here, we'll get the datum service, which is a decentralized stratum server for self-hosting. Self-hosting a stratum server. Stratum servers are what give work to miners. So they take a block template from a node. They take a transaction, like a block payload template from the node, and they assemble the actual block template with difficulty and sort of nonce parameters and whatever the Coinbase transaction, and then they give that work to the miners, and the miners just hash it only. So the stratum server is like the middleman between the node and the miner that organizes all of the technical stuff. And so we use datum as a stratum server in Start9, and you can configure that in non-pooled mode if you set up the reverse proxy in the docs. That's also in my other videos. So that's probably the hardest part, is just following these steps to get the reverse proxy going. Once that's complete, you can configure your BitAx swarm, however many you bought. I have 2 right now, to get the work from the local host. Force persistent DHCP lease on miners. So you can't actually, what I wanted to do was turn off DHCP altogether on my router, but I couldn't, because the miners Right now the BitX is, there's no terminal access to actually configure a static IP, but you can still configure them from the router side to have a static IP. And so that'll be for easy bookmarking. And you can get GPT to help you organize all of that. Like, mine was pretty smart, we reserved the 10 to 20 range for like devices, and then we reserved the 20 to 30 range for miners, and I put the printer at 90 and just whatever. It was clever. And then mine to new wallet address. So here you can see I slipped a 1 in here. That's at the account level derivation. I suggest making one wallet by rolling the dice and then using different accounts for your mining versus your personal. So I've elaborated on that over here. Use account 0 for personal funds, which is the default. And your cold card will ask you for an account. So there you go. You restore the wallet and the cold card, and then either hit account 0 for personal funds, and then just grab the first address from account 1 for mining. Odds are you'll never mine a block ever, so you'll never use those addresses. Yeah, anyway. So that's why I've made this recommendation. And that is the node setup flow. So once, basically, let's say if you've got Bitcoin Electrum going, and then you get datum going, and that datum reverse proxy now distributes work over the local area network to your miners, and they're getting the work and hashing, then your node's done at that point. Yeah, good job. So now we're following the wallet flow now, because all we've done on the wallet flow at this point is purchase a cold card and create a wallet on it, write down the seed, stamp it into steel. Now that we're done that, you can get your Sparrow wallet on that client laptop. Configure over Tor to connect to your StartOS private Electrum server. So right when you're setting up Sparrow, you'll be configuring your Electrum server, and it kind of gives you 3 options: yellow, green, and blue, right? So yellow means connect to a public server, which you just never do that now. Green means connect to a Bitcoin node, and that's, cool if you're like in Windows. That was cool a few years ago when it was really, really hard to get an Electrum server working in Windows or whatever, but now times have changed and we're just going straight to blue. So you're gonna, for this, you'll want to get the onion address from your start server, and I think it's port like 50001. GPT can help with that again, but basically you just punch that onion address into the Sparrow config, and it connects remotely over Tor to your own private Electrum server. If it's a home device only, or you don't want to connect over Tor, you can connect over the local network to it as well. It's a lot simpler that way, but the idea is remote connection, remote access, that even when you're away, that all of your Bitcoin activity always uses your node only. Yeah. So let's say you have a mobile wallet. Same thing. You want that mobile wallet to connect to your private Electrum server. Okay. Export XPub or ZPub from the cold card and import into Sparrow. This creates a watching wallet. So the important thing here, that will make a JSON file, and then you supply that JSON file to the Sparrow wallet software, and it'll grab all your public key information. So it still can't sign, it can't make signatures, it doesn't have the private key to spend, but it has the public key to create, watch addresses and balances, and that's how it works like a wallet. It knows all your balances, it knows all your addresses, but it doesn't leak that stuff over a public server. Nobody else knows all your addresses and balances. Only only your private server is watching that for you. So that's what's going on when you set all this stuff up. That's what the end game here of phase 3. Now these pathways are converging. That's the point of this flowchart. Let's think that over. Like, what began as 3 parallel processes, let's say, they converge as you flow through them. But you can't, they only converge if you flow through them. You know, you need to work your way through. These are parallel processes that converge. And so these two, this wallet setup and the node setup, they converge at this point. Once you have created a wallet that you have cryptographic control over, you created it offline by rolling dice or whatever with the cold card. So that gives you a 256 bits of security in your wallet and addresses that it's never been exposed to the internet, and it has to stay that way. And then you bring the wallet and the node together, and then your own private election server is the one that watches your wallet, and it doesn't watch any other wallets. It's just watching yours only. So these words like sovereign and autonomous, they're not just throwaway words. We don't just throw them away. What it really means to be sovereign and autonomous is like bringing the wallet and the node together. The sovereignty lies in the fact that you're a peer on the network. You can act individually. You can spend Bitcoin. You can receive Bitcoin. You're downloading the blocks. You're validating the blocks. You're sovereign enough to make your node policy, your consensus policy. That's your vote. And you're a sovereign participant like that. You're not relying on somebody who is superior to you. You're the king of your own castle. And your castle looks like this. It's a computer. And you're the king of it. And being autonomous also matters. It means that I have a private Electrum server that is watching my wallet. So I don't need to rely on Sparrow's Electrum server or CoinKite or Coinbase or, Coin, whatever. Like, there might be a million like public Electrum servers out there, but what you give them is your public key, and then they know what you've got and where it is, and there's no cryptographic link between your addresses that's discoverable by hack analysis. There has to be some knowledge of the key, of the public key, private key, whatever. So it's one thing you must keep your private key secure. That's an absolute must. But by bringing your node and wallet together, you're also just keeping your public key secure as well. Yeah, because any Electrum server that's watching your public key is going to know all of your addresses and all of your balances. Yes, so the flow now moves past phase 3 and into phase 4, verifying the wallet, signing messages, distributing encrypted copies, inheritance, etc., preparing to withdraw your Bitcoin. Presumably, at this point, if you're listening to me, you're still just, don't forget that first flow is just happening on the side here. of buying Bitcoin. So you're still just following, buying, all you're doing is buying Bitcoin, and it's just sitting on the exchange, getting bigger and bigger, and you're preparing to withdraw it. And now we're at phase 4. Web SSH over client devices to run server headless, bookmark static IPs to access bit access and start OS. So that's like that. Your client laptop, you just type the IP address of a different device on the LAN on your local network, and it'll bring it up in the web browser. So you don't need to. It's not like Bitcoin node is a separate computer that you have to run in kiosk mode. You can run it headless. You can and should run that server headless, and the bit access. You need to. They have their own operating system that you access by web SSH as well. Yeah, update firmware, server maintenance. Yeah, that's simple. Keep your services up to date. Update your firmware on the bit access. Deploy Tails with encrypted persistent storage to keep important files, cold card exports such as JSONs, backups, decryption phrases, SHA hashes, and personal documents. Yes, sir. So that is just about making the most of the tools available to you. So use Tails in conjunction with the cold card to sign messages. That's where this is going. Super important. This is worthy of its own video. Signed messages can be used to verify the cold card is working and able to spend. So when I say a message, like all transactions really are, is a message that Phil is spending, Alice is spending to Bob, right? You can write a different message that says like Satoshi Nakamoto is cool, is a cool guy, and then you can sign that, and then everyone can see the owner of this address signed a message that says Satoshi Nakamoto is a cool guy, and that proves basically you can validate the signature and say, oh yeah, this. And validating the signature is not equal to exposing the signature or exposing the private key. So it securely proves ownership. Like, yes, whoever signed this message is able to spend this address. And so this opens the door to a lot of fascinating cryptography. But first of all, spending to an address that hasn't signed a message is risky, as you are assuming you did everything right. That's why people say do a test transaction. That's equivalent in scope to signing a message. So what you can do instead is sign a message. Just make a text file, then put a new line. It's the derivation path, whatever. There's instructions for that. I don't have them memorized, so yeah. I'll do a video about signing messages. Because this brings me to my next point. Message signing in Tails can also be used to create very clever glass-safe style cryptographic passwords, aka sign a public designated message, hash the signature, and then grab a slice of that hash, a hyper-secure password restoration and recovery scheme. Let me say, I have a designated Bitcoin address with 100,000 sats, and I distribute the seed phrase to my family members, and a copy of the Tails persistent storage on a flash drive. And I say, your password, you need to write your name and sign that message with your name with this Bitcoin private key. Take that signature and get the hash of that signature, and then slice off the first 6 and the last 6 characters. So I can write that, and I can pin it to a light post in the street. Like, literally, I can hand it to every person in the world. Say, here you go. And then it doesn't, it doesn't matter, because you can't, the whole act of signing is what gives it cryptographic strength, because now it's only someone with the private key to that address is able to restore the password. Even if every person in the world is given instructions on how to restore it, it is still locked behind that cryptographic strength of that Bitcoin key signature. So, like, this is an extremely modern way of password derivation using, say, the cold card, Bitcoin technology, Bitcoin private keys. Like, you can make a list of seeds and say, you know, if I sign if I sign a message that says CIBC banking account, if I sign a message that says ASUS router, if I sign a message that says, you know, Netflix password or whatever, and then like it's a password restoration and recovery scheme that will never fail. It kicks ass. All right. So yeah, message signing also enables you to create distributed copies of encrypted stores such that other people can restore their own password. So, you know, this is all about backup and recovery using these cryptographic tools that are available, so your Bitcoin doesn't get lost. So it makes its way into the right hands and not the wrong hands, or, you know, even worse, like it can get lost forever. So yeah. Anyway, you have all of that set up. You've signed a message from your first receiving address, says Satoshi Nakamoto is cool. You validated that signature, and your Sparrow wallet can do that, and then it says, yep, you're good to go. This signature is good. You can spend this address. You say, all right, now I've done everything right. I'm not assuming I've done everything right. I've verified. I've signed this. The signature's good. Now you withdraw your Bitcoin. We have reached the end game. We're now orange pilled. Congratulations. Now we have more convergence of parallel processes here into one euphoric orange glowing nirvana. So continue purchasing Bitcoin regularly. Withdraw to your wallet. Use new address every time at account derivation level 0. So Sparrow will do that for you. It's very simple. There's a zillion videos of it. You just hit receive, you grab the next address, you withdraw to that address, and that's how you stack. Use Sparrow on client laptop or your chosen mobile wallet. I dare say at the moment the choices mostly all suck. I don't know. But the point is, you're watching with your own private server and not leaking any information. You're an autonomous and sovereign peer on the network, and your cryptography is secure. Only now should you withdraw your Bitcoin from the exchange with complete confidence that you are the custodian. Thank you very much.